So classifying connective tissue. Okay, so the types of connective tissue are divided into these main types. So the first one is connective tissue proper. All right, the second one is structural connective tissue. And the last one is fluid connective tissue. So under connective tissue proper, there are two subtypes of that. So the first one is loose, and the second one is dense. So under loose connective tissue, we have areolar connective tissue. And areolar connective tissue is a very fluid, almost watery connective tissue. It has more of a watery ground substance. It's got all the cells. It's got immune system cells. Let's say all cells are present. It even has adipocytes. It's got mast cells, macrophages, all that. The cells that make matrix are fibroblasts. And areolar connective tissue is all over the body. It's more of that than any other kind of connective tissue, and it's always under epithelial tissue. So it's a good support. It supports epithelial tissue. All right. The next one is adipose tissue, and adipose tissue is, basically the fat on your body, so you know where that is. And it's good for fuel storage. I guess that's about it for adipose tissue. All right, reticular tissue. So these are reticular connective tissue are tissues that are going to contain basically reticular fibers. And fibroblasts, which are called reticulocytes. Reticulocytes. This is the one that looks like grapes on a vine. It's just a bunch of cells around a stroma of fibers there. You're going to find it in lymphoid tissue. So this is, immune system stuff. So lymphoid tissue is where you're going to find that. All right, dense connective tissue. There is regular, dense connective tissue. Regular dense connective tissue is just basically collagen fibers in a parallel, stacked parallel. It's an L. Parallel. Either fibroblast in there that secrete the matrix. They're kind of lodged between or around the collagen fibers there. Dense irregular. irregular connective tissue. And that's collagen fibers that are all over the place. So, collagen fibers are all over. You know, they're just sort of like that. They're like there. And here they're parallel. Okay. And then the last one is elastic. There. Elastic connective tissue. And elastic connective tissue, you know, these are going to have stretch and recoil properties. They're kind of like rubber bands. You're going to find them especially in like muscle. You'll find them in like the lungs, so you can breathe in and out and your lungs snack back. They're in the spinal cord, or not spinal cord, but the spinal, like between the spinal bones of the spinal column. So if you had like this is muscle tissue. So let's say that this is, you know, cardiac muscle or something. Or the aorta, like an artery, a stretchy aorta. Then the elastic fibers would be strewn through here like this. Sort of densely packed in there. Okay, so that's elastic connective tissue. All right, the structural connective tissue. I'm going to move this over really quick. Need to be quicker. All right, so now we have structural . So the structural connective tissue, there's two types as well. So the first one is cartilage. And the second one is bone. So cartilage is going to be, there's three types of cartilage. So we've got hyaline cartilage, and hyaline cartilage you have all over the body. It's basically how a lot of the bones are made from hyaline cartilage. The fetal skeleton is basically hyaline cartilage. There's elastic cartilage, and don't get elastic cartilage and elastic connective tissue confused. But elastic cartilage is only in the pinna of the ear and the epiglottis in the throat. So the epiglottis is a little structure that covers the trachea when you're eating food, so you don't inhale your food. Fibro cartilage. And fibro cartilage is basically, you know, hyaline cartilage is a collagen. That's kind of all throughout. Fibro cartilage is collagen. That is like stacked on top of each other, like parallel again. But in there, you're going to see lacunae and chondrocytes. So chondrocytes are the cell for cartilage. So chondroblasts will secrete matrix. Chondrocytes will maintain the matrix. So those are the cells that are here. In bone, there's two types. We have compact bone and spongy or trabecular bone. And again, you know, the ground substance in cartilage is going to be hard but pliable. Okay, in bone, it's going to be hard and not pliable. It's going to be just hard, right? It has, so it's got lots of solutes in the form of calcium salts. It has osteoblasts, and they're going to, secrete matrix and make a lacuna, just like the cartilage. Osteocytes are going to maintain that matrix there. Okay, and then the last one, move this over as well. So the last one, I'll move it up here, is the fluid connective tissue. And of course, we're talking about blood. So blood is basically cells. So those are, the formed elements, the red blood cells and white blood cells and platelets suspended in plasma, and that's the ground substance. The cells are the proteins, basically, that contribute to clotting. Okay, so let's put clotting proteins. Would be the fibers. Okay, so those are the types of connective tissue, and that's the best way to learn them. Connective tissue proper, and then separate those into loose and dense, and then structural connective tissue would be cartilage and then bone, and then fluid connective tissue, which is the blood. So the more organized you are about your study, the easier it will be.